Find our book, Finance is the Other F Word, Another F Word to Love on Amazon now.
As fantastic a CFP as Mel O is, as wonderful an attorney as I am, and as good as Stormy is at whatever it is he does, please do note that anything said in our podcasts are our opinions alone and are not meant to be taken as financial or legal advice.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, a Gen Xer podcast for musicians and music lovers, where we discuss money and music without all the pretentious bullshit. Here are your hosts, Zoe Terry, attorney at large, Stormy Andrews, founder of Yokel Local Marketing, and Mel O, certified financial planner and author of Finances, the Other F Word. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, and holy shit, this is going to be an amazing episode because we have Rick DeJesus, lead singer and founder of Adelitas Way, on the podcast today to talk to us a little bit about how he has maintained his independent rock star status in a music business that is a business. Adelitas Way, for those of you who aren't familiar with them, they have 6 studio albums out, 2 extended plays, multiple number ones, numerous top 10s, over 1 million listeners monthly on Spotify, and their music has been featured in Saw 3D, WWE, and CSI Miami, and all of this has been done independently with the help of their fans worldwide. Rick, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
We're super excited. Now, tell me about the genesis of Adelitas Way. As far as it looks like at one point you were with a record label, but then you formed your own record label, but a lot of this is homegrown and independent. So just tell us a little bit about how you got started and what that looks like from a financial business perspective.
I started in about 2004, 2005, and it obviously started the way that bands, you play locally, you're taping demos on any national act that comes. I remember taping demos all over Lincoln Park's bus, every handle. I knew someone had to open the door. You hand CDs out at gas stations, at grocery stores, whatever it may be, to get people to listen to your demo. I started there. We created a great following locally in Las Vegas because I think it's key to be successful where you're, if you're not successful in your hometown, it's going to be tough to be successful worldwide, even in the digital age. So we started it at home, and we had a record deal with Virgin Records. By 2008, we signed it. We went through a bit of another crazy experience that I won't dive too far into. In 2006, Interscope Records tried to sign us, and then they ended up shelving us. They signed us to a recording contract just to put us on the side burner, right? And then that was a whole nother can of worms. But I was fortunate enough to get out of that, sign with Virgin Records in 2008. I put out 3 records on Virgin, and then the past 3 records we've released have been put out on my own label, The Vegas Sin, through Fuel Music. So we've been independent for almost 6 years now. Actually, it's been longer than that. 2013 was our last Virgin Records release, and every album since then has been put out on our own label. And when we left, this is an interesting fact. When we left Virgin Records, one of the biggest things for me was I was constantly touring. I was working 9 months out of the year. I was gone from my family a lot. And then I would get home. I was paying a lot of commissions, paying the label a lot, paying managers, attorneys, everyone, agents. And I was putting in work of someone who was putting 11-hour days in, traveling 8 to 11 hours per show every night. And I never had any money, ever. I had to borrow money from my parents constantly. I had to constantly beg the record label to give me money that was owed to me, honestly. It was a pretty tough situation. So I saw the writing on the wall the minute I started reading and learning about streaming. The minute I learned about Spotify, changed my life, because I had a vision for what the future of the way people were going to consume music was going to be. I think before a lot of people really knew what was coming. I remember the first time that I ever read an article even about Spotify's creation. It had to be 2011 or 2012. And from that moment on, all I did was try to become an independent artist so I could take advantage of the future of music.
So what is it that when we're looking at, you know, the time you spent with the record label, the major label, to the time that you've done leaning more to the independent side? So obviously you're getting a bigger piece of the financial pie, because we've talked about on this podcast before about how record label contracts are designed and the advances and the way the payback is and all of that other stuff. So what is the biggest, I guess, pro and con that you found having your own label, and basically, because you own all your own music also, correct?
It's all pros. There are the only con you could say is we don't get on the fancy label names of like you don't get on the big rock festival, you know, Rock Fest, and you're not really a priority when it comes to being on the radio. But the radio is in a place also that has to adjust. So, you know, it didn't seem like I was losing too much. Obviously, I love all my friends at radio. I'm grateful for the support I had over the years, but it wasn't enough to hold me back from doing what I wanted to do. And like I said, I'm very grateful for all the airplay we've ever gotten, but I knew people were going to consume music a different way. And as I see it, the cons are you're not getting on the biggest tours in the world as support, but you can't be a support band your whole life either. You don't want to go around relying off other people constantly. We put in the work. We were on the record label for 7 years. We did a lot of support tours. We were ready to headline as well and be the headliner. So it was a perfect time for us. I do think there are ways to do deals with companies. I think time is worth more than money. If somebody's trying to lock you up on a big term, you know, 5 albums, 10 years, I mean, I just think that's ridiculous. And I would never sign anything like that again. But if someone's willing to come in and establish a partnership that I can, you know, put an album or 2 out over a 2-year span, you know, there's time. How do I word it? I don't want to. Time is very valuable to me, and I put a financial number on every year. You know, like record labels are very vague. They want a 5 album option. Well, 5 albums can take 10 years.
Right.
You know.
Wow.
When you sign a record deal, you're pretty much getting money up front one time, and then you're signing all your rights away. Right. The money that is going to come in on the 3 albums that I own the master rights to, my children will receive the money. You know, like it's going to go for perpetuity. It's going to go on forever. We've already you know, established 160 million streams independently just over the past 7 or 8 years, right? Imagine what that's going to look like in 30, 40, 50 years. If we continue to stay active, if our legacy becomes what I know it's going to become. You know, I want to go down in history as a great songwriter, as a blue-collar artist, and I really want to pave the way for other artists to not rely on everyone else, because there's nothing worse mentally than waking up every day and having to call 3 other people to figure out your future, and rely on these people who have 10 other artists, 20 other artists that they're thinking about. So you really want to have that I'll do it mentality. I could do it myself. No one's going to do it for me. That's the mentality you have to have in this business, because you'll find yourself broke, alone, and working a day job if you don't have that mentality of I'm willing to do it myself. But the pros are I get checks every month. Every single stream comes to the band. It comes to us. Every single download, every single album, every single piece of income comes directly to the band. And when you have all those income sources across the board, from merchandising to online stores to streaming to iTunes sales to live events to live shows to live merchandise to royalty checks to publishing checks to it just when you have that access across the board, it's life changing.
Mm-hmm. And we've discussed on this podcast before about a lot of prior, I guess, rock stars, like we talked about Jakey Lee, and a couple others who have ended up having financial meltdowns because of the way that the record contracts are structured or whatever. So obviously when you leave the major label, you get a bigger piece of the financial pie. However, you lose their team. And so one of the things that seems to be a bookmark, a key cornerstone to your success, besides the fact, obviously, that your fans are amazing and rabid, by the way, is the simple fact that, you know, you've been able to get the music into various other medias. So as far as TV shows and movies and things like that. So is that something that you guys, how do you do that now outside of like a publicist team and all of the other teams that the record labels normally put around you with, you know, touring and putting out new music? I know you guys just released Shine On here August 14th of 2020 with 10 million streams, I think it was, without any radio, without any radio play, which is fucking crazy.
That's incredible.
And awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's a beautiful thing. And it's, I'll say this, it starts with the songs and it starts with investing in yourself, because we invest every step of the way. We're recording in the best facilities. We're still with top producers. We're still having the best mixers in the world. We mix our music. So the level of playing field is very level with the quality of music and the sound that we're putting out, because we invest in ourselves. We also invest in ourselves everywhere, from being on the road to gear to, it's just constantly investing in yourself, making sure you sound as good as you know you can. So it's believing in yourself and continuing to believe in yourself. But the songs speak for themselves too. I think we're in a position where we are because of the songs and because of the fans and the connection. Obviously, sometimes the WWE needs a song, right? And they're out there listening. ESPN needs a song. When they need a song, they don't necessarily run to the record labels. They just want the right song for their event, right? It becomes more of a specific, you know, we got hit up by MTV this year through Facebook. MTV hit me up through Facebook this year to see if they could use What It Takes on the MTV Movie Awards, you know, and I cut a direct deal with them, with MTV, with Viacom directly, because they love the song and they love the message of the song. So it does happen like that. But I will say, the biggest music discovery platform is Spotify. They're focused on creating 100,000 jobs for artists out in the world. It's a mission statement of theirs. So I do got to credit some of our growth and new music discovery, because when you're the real deal, Spotify does make it a point to help you stand out from the rest. You know, they don't put everyone on a level playing field. When all these people are putting out basement, you know, recordings, or, you know, there's someone listening to those and kind of shuffling through them and then pushing the ones through that they understand are real. You know, they have a great team over at Spotify that's focused on music discovery, and Sirius XM as well. You know, they're investing a lot into finding artists who are untapped and who are the real deal. You know, I can't tell you how many times Spotify has put our music on playlists and just algorithms to fans saying, check this out, check this band out. You know, you may not be hearing this on the radio because there's a snob, you know, that's programming 15 stations, you know, and it tends to be the corporate snobs, you know, the Cumuluses, the Clear Channels. Local radio has my heart. You know, we have one of the best radio stations in the country here in Comp Vegas, and I love every single person in that building. I wish every radio station in the country was ran with the type of love and efficiency as Comp Vegas, but they're not. You know, you have Clear Channel and Cumulus that have one guy that's programmed in 15 markets, and he's just not connected to the local scene in any of those markets. He's not connected to the bands. He doesn't know what's going on. He literally wants to see what 5 bands Universal signed and pick one, you know? So it's very impersonal. Spotify doesn't have that kind of attitude. They have the kind of attitude where they listen to something, they say, wow, that sounds fresh, we're going to give it a go. And it's really benefited us. And for artists out there, and I've noticed this too, when we put out a song on Spotify that's not a hit, Spotify also identifies that. You know, we have plenty of songs that have 200,000 streams. And then we have plenty of songs that have 10 million. So I think they do a great job of pushing the true hits out.
So it's interesting because we've talked about Spotify on this podcast before, a little bit about their algorithm, but also about just basically the fraction of the pennies that they pay per play. So for artists that are coming online that are trying to get their music played on Spotify for a viable revenue stream, it's very hard to get that. And then, of course, we had the big stink, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, where Taylor Swift got pissed off at Spotify and pulled all her music off of it because of some bullshit, something that I can't remember now.
Here's what no one's telling you. The reason those artists feel that way is because there's a middleman in there that's silent. There's an elephant in the room that no one speaks of. Taylor Swift was taking her frustration out on Spotify when really it was her label, Universal. It's the independent labels and the labels that are cutting these side deals, and they're undercutting the artists. And then the artists see the rate that they're getting, and they're like, Spotify pays me 0.00000000001 eighth of a fraction, but that's not true. It's clear cut. For every million streams we get, Spotify cuts us a check for $4,600 directly. If more people listen to us on the paid service, it's more towards $5,000 per million. We have 160 million streams independently. The math doesn't lie. So you can Apple Music pays more. They pay $6,500 per million, but their music discovery platforms far behind Spotify. So a lot of the artists that are crying and complaining about the fraction of the penny that they're getting from Spotify, they really should be talking to their labels. They really should be saying, hey guys, how come Spotify's paying you this rate and you're giving us this rate? So a lot of the rate that people are crying, if you're an independent artist, right, or even an artist who does a 4-year stint on Atlantic, right, you get off Atlantic, you put a record out on your own, your fans come with you, you put a great album out because you have to release great material that you invest in. That was one of the biggest strengths that we did too. Our first release that we released off the record label was a hit song. Bad Reputation sold 50,000 singles on iTunes, and it has 10 million streams. So you've got to release quality content. But the rate that Spotify is paying artists directly is much different from the rate that Spotify is getting facilitated to artists through a signed label deal. Like I said, when I was on Capitol Records, for every million streams, I was getting about $11, maybe $9, $9 to $11 every million streams.
Wait a second. Wait. So as an independent for a million streams, you're getting about, $4 to $5 grand.
Yep.
On a label, you were getting $11.
Yeah.
It's that much of a difference.
That's obscene.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
What was that, right? I mean,
but they're very tricky with accounting, guys. You've got to remember, I think the record label is more full of accounting experts and lawyers than it is A&R people or music discoverers. I think the biggest leverage that they have is once they get you in that contract, once they have Katy Perry, once they have Lady Gaga, once they have the Red Hot Chili Peppers, they've got you. It doesn't matter if you become the biggest superstar in the world. You can't hire enough lawyers to beat them. They've got a whole building full of them. So they do that on purpose. They do that on purpose. And rightfully so. You know what you're getting into. I knew what I was getting into when I signed my record contract with Virgin. You're getting that money up front. They're giving you about $500 grand one time, and then don't even ask for a check. Don't even ask. Don't even expect anything. Take the one-time fee. And at that moment, I remember getting a $500,000 check, running to the bank, cashing it, and thinking I just got over on them. And then when you look at my royalty statements over the years, their accounting will show that we're still $700,000 in debt because they're amazing at just doing that. They're amazing at using the ancillary rates, saying you only recoup 7%. It gets crazy. It gets really, really deep, guys. I'd have to go through the contract with you to explain how the payback goes. But if you look at the bottom line, Adelitas Way sold Virgin Records 500,000 physical albums. We've got them probably 90 million streams on our past catalog. We probably sold 2 to 4 million singles on iTunes. So you're looking at I got a $500,000 check, and they probably generated anywhere from $2 to $7 million back.
Right.
Yeah, and there's for our listeners, and we have a lot of musician listeners as well, there's a book, it's older now, but it's called Confessions of a Record Producer, and it was written under a pseudonym, and he goes through and he breaks down the ins and outs completely of the record companies, explains the paybacks, explains all these weird clauses that are in there that actually ends up taking money away from the artist. And then, of course, they own the masters. So your first 3 albums, you don't own the masters to, the record company does, correct?
Correct.
Right.
So do you think in the near future there's ever any chance that you're going to be able to get those masters bought?
0% chance. I tried. I tried very, very hard. I already tried. I tried to negotiate heavily with them. I talked to the CEO of Capitol Music. He was a great guy. He was nice, but there was just no chance it was happening. No, they would not sell the masters back to me.
That's so unfortunate. So the
you know
thing
what is
that
fortunate? I'll
what?
tell you what is fortunate. I knew we could get to this day, and I put a re-recording clause in my deal in 2006 or 2007. Right around 2007, I started negotiating the deal. I put a re-recording clause that I could re-record any song that I ever created 5 years after its release. So, you know,
Nice.
I could
So then
do better
basically
now.
Absolutely.
without earning the masters, you can re-record them and release them over again.
Yes.
And then you own all of
Yes.
those royalties that come in from
Not
that.
a lot of
That is
artists.
amazing.
Not a lot of artists that's not in a lot of deals. I had leverage because I had multiple record offers. I had a record deal offered me from Warner Brothers. I had one offered from Virgin Records. I got a record offer from Sony. We had a bit of a bidding war going on. Universal Music offered me $1 million, $1 million deal, which I didn't like the wording of. I could go through that. That was a whole other can of worms. But Capitol Records let me put a 5-year re-recording clause in there, and that was one of the reasons that I signed with them for less money, because I knew we would come to this moment.
Smart.
That's an
Absolutely.
amazing
That's
foresight.
huge.
Yeah, and I've never actually even heard of that clause. I didn't even know that was a thing. So that's awesome. And I would love, I mean, I know you're like, oh, I'd have to go through the whole contract for you, but at some point I would love for you to do that, because the inner workings and the finances of how the record companies put together the contract and the ramifications it has moving through the entire career of the artist is just unbelievable. And back in the day when that was your only hope of making it anywhere was getting signed by a major label, you were kind of at their mercy, right? I mean, you had to do kind of whatever, but now, so obviously it looks like clearly doing the independent channel has been obviously largely successful for you. So
It's been fantastic.
Is,
it's been life-changing to me, and I'm going to get to your question, but I know you said you were curious. I'll tell you one interesting fact, and then I'll answer this next question. Only 7 to 11% of any income that you make on a record label actually counts towards recouping. It's an ancillary rate, and they cut it's very important to the record label, by the way. It was one of the biggest negotiating points in my deal that they wouldn't budge on. So they only want to count 7% of all the income that comes in on an artist towards the recoupment of that artist. And so if you make $1 million back, only 7% of that million actually counts towards knocking down what you owe them to get your money back. Because if you do pay them back, you do get like a 50% revert back. But the way they do the accounting, only 7% of what the income that you bring in goes towards the recoupment. And in the $1 million deal that I got offered, I had no control over the spending of the funds. They controlled all the fund spending. And I was like, they're just going to pay all their friends. They're going to pay their buddy who they want to produce the record $400,000 to do it. They're going to pay the mixer $100,000 because he's their buddy. They're going to pay the music video producer they use on every artist they do $100,000 to do the video, and how much is going to actually trickle down to the artist. You're lucky if you walk with 100,000 out of the million.
That's bullshit.
That's incredible.
And that same thing has been referenced with Left Eye when she was talking about why they declared bankruptcy. And then, of course, we had Tom Petty, who's one of my favorites. Sorry, my dog's on my desk. Who ended up declaring bankruptcy in order to renegotiate his record deal before he released Damn the Torpedoes and things like that. So since we know, obviously, with the fact that you can stream and you can control everything yourself and that you can take basically the power back from the record labels, why do you think that we don't see more successful bands coming out of the independent channel that's able to duplicate what you've done? What is it that has made your band different, or what is it that the up and coming artists who want to put out music and want to do it the independent way need to be focusing on that maybe they're not?
Well, here's the thing. I made my contract very loose. I made it the loosest you could get it, and I fought for that tooth and nail. I made it so that if I got to a point in my career where I felt like a slave, or I felt like I was really being, honestly, because about my last album that I did with the label, I was dealing with mental illness on that record because they had me working like a dog. I never saw my family. I was constantly gone, and I had nothing. I had no money, and it really, really drugged me down because here I am. I have a newborn baby. I can't even afford to buy the child formula, but I'm working 9 months out of the year on the road, and I'm doing all this crazy hard work, and I'm not being rewarded for it because I got that one large sum up front. I did buy a house with that sum, and I flipped that house and made a ton of money, but that's a whole nother, business move. With that said, I think artists aren't doing it because their contracts aren't loose enough. I think a lot of artists are stuck, man. It is what it is. Especially in my era, you're not going to see some of these artists become available for another 5 to 10 years. I think some of them dream of it. But they're just ironclad, locked in. We slipped through because of A, the way I worked out my deal, B, the way that I played possum, and C, the way that my record label fell apart right in front of my eyes. I was on a subsidiary label, Virgin Records, and Virgin absolutely fell apart in 2013. They fired the whole staff. No one was really paying attention to what was going on over there. I'm not even sure Capitol Records knew we were even an artist on the label by the time it was all said and done.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, yeah, that's just nuts. So, I mean, as far as with everything, with all the revenue streams that you have coming primarily to the band, it sounds like you're still using the professional teams that you would be providing with the record label, but you're just paying for themselves out of the band's proceeds, I'm assuming.
Yes, I have a fan. Also, you can't just sit and take credit on it's a team effort. I have a fantastic band, hardworking guys. I love them. I have a fantastic team. There is another side to this. There is a team of people who are anti corporate, right? They're tired of seeing the artists get screwed over. They're tired of there's teams out there that are good people that are sick of, that have been a part of these corporations, seeing what they're doing and saying, no, we've been a part of that. We saw what they do to the artists, and we're gonna do the opposite. So I have a great team, Fuel Music, Tony Patoto, Doug Truex, Mendy, so many great people that work with me. My partners, I would call them. They put in just endless hours of work trying to get us playlists, and I mean, I can't even just really say just playlists. They do so much for us, and they fight for us, and they're part of the team. So it's a team effort. You need a team. If your team can't execute it, you do got to step in and reach out, because sometimes Apple Music does like to deal with the artist. They do want to hear from the singer that wrote the songs and produced the songs. They want to feel like they're a part of your process. So it does help when I reach out directly to these entities, because I've had success with them. We've won already together. But you need a team. You cannot think that you're going to go in the studio, make an album or an EP by yourself, put it out through TuneCore by yourself. Like, you need to do homework. You need to build relationships. You need to study. It does take a team effort. It takes producers. It takes real studios. It takes a band. It takes just a team effort. But if you get that team effort and you lock it down, it will change your life.
So then for somebody who's going the independent route, it sounds like you would recommend that they have a team in place first. But if it's kind of like the cart before the horse thing, right? It's like you try to put a good team together before you've actually made any waves in the music industry, or do you focus on making enough waves in the music industry and then have a team kind of come together? Like, how do you chicken
well,
before
your
the egg?
circumstances are what they are, right? No one, when we started out as a local band, there wasn't no one. It was just me. It was me. So you've got to have that mentality. And look, the harder you work, the luckier you get. I promise you that. Some bands want to put out one album or two albums and be the biggest band in the world, or they expect to get signed immediately. Look, you're looking at 12 years of constant work right now. You know, so when someone works as hard as I've worked for 12 years, as hard as the band's worked for 12 years, a lot of opportunity presents itself. You get a lot luckier the harder you work, right? They coincide. If you're sitting at home and you're just thinking I'm underrated and no one even knows, like I'm the best in the world, but no, if you're just sitting there with that mentality, but you're not out there putting the work in, you're beating a dead horse. You've got to constantly be doing something. So the team comes along with the work. Like I said, I did everything from handing out CDs, hand-to-hand combat. I remember having 4 CD burners going at my house, putting our demos on it, handing it to every person. And look what happened. The first show we ever played in Vegas sold out because I handed out so many demos. People liked the music. I remember pumping gas at a gas station in 2005, and this group of young girls pulled up in a car at the pumps, and they were blasting my demo. And they didn't even know who I was. I was just there pumping gas, and I just had a moment of reflection where I smiled and said, look, man, this is real. This is real, you know, and at the end of the day, like I said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. So for any artist that is starting out and they're independent, you've got to start locally. You've got to run Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, all targeting the city you live in. You've got to go to local shows. You've got to be in the scene. You've got to play shows. You've got to play live. You've got to play acoustic. You've got to visit your local radio station. You've got to do all of it, all of it. I played in every single radio station in this country 5 times and back, and they still don't play my music, but I did it, you know?
Right.
So how do you get, like, originally when with the Shine On's release, you didn't have any radio play, but then it kind of seemed like they're coming back around now. So then how are you dealing directly with the radio stations to try to get your stuff on the air, or is that one of your team members that's doing that? Do you manage the band yourselves, or do you guys kind of co-manage it with your other bandmates? Like how is that structured?
I'm the manager pretty much. I manage the band. I do everything from the tech side of things. I'm very tech savvy. My biggest strength is the songwriting, the producing in the studio with the producer, like that relationship. That's where my bread and butter is. I know when I get a song and I get the content in my hand, I can make anything happen. So it starts with the music. After the music, you've got to put the work in. Yeah, you've got to reach out. You've got to do. It's a series of events with the radio stations. Sometimes I deal with them directly, depending on how personal it is. At Comp, I pretty much got a key to that studio. They're so great to me over there. I can walk in any day, and they're friends for life in there. But when it comes to other radio stations, you know, some of them aren't so quick to jump on. Some of them really, really are stubborn almost. You know, we've got a song called Notorious with 23 million streams. And I remember when that song hit 10 million streams and I was trying to get some radio stations to play it, they were still like, oh, we just don't think it's a hit. I'm like, it's the #1 streamed rock song of the year so far.
Right.
And it's not a hit. So some of them leave that stubbornness on. But I also do hire a team. I work with Ray Gaminer a lot, who previously worked with me at Virgin Capital. I work with Jeffrey Nauman right now, who and at this point, all these guys are doing is saying, hey, radio stations, Adelitas way got a new one out, check it out. You know, we're not really hammering away at anyone to play it because we really don't need to. And a lot of it is pay for play. A lot of it is pay for play. You get ripped off airplay. That's a whole nother can of worms. I'd say out of the 100 stations, 50 to 60 of them, you have to pay $500 to $1,000 to get on. And then the airplay you get on after you pay that $500 to $1,000 stinks. They're playing you at 2 a.m, and they come back and say, if you want to be played at 8 a.m. during morning drive, we'll need another $500. So a radio campaign can easily suck up all of your money. It can easily suck up all your streams. You can spend $50,000 on radio in the blink of an eye, and your song could generate $50,000 total over a year span. Do you want to spend all that money on one entity for bad airplay, or do you want to spread it across and have Facebook and have Instagram and have the ability to create resources to put it, digitally in people's faces?
Right.
And I know one of the things that has contributed greatly to Adelita's Way's success is touring. And of course, in a COVID world right now, I know that there's been talk, and you guys had you had pointed out that you guys had a concert that you had sometime, I think it was just a couple months ago, with 0% exposure to COVID, and that you're very much pushing for outside venue concerts as far as to be able to have a way to bring live music back.
We played 5 successful concerts already outdoor. We played 5 successful, socially distanced, temperature-checked outdoor concerts with no reported cases back. And the funny part is, the media only covered the front half. The media only covered the show leading into the show, saying, oh, it's going to be COVID fest. Oh, that people are going to be dying left and right. This band doesn't care about their fans. They never came back and reported the 0 cases, the great time everyone had, the way that people made it work. They never reported the positive results that we found a way to put on live events without people risking their lives. We found a way to do it. We have proven success over 5 shows that if you're outdoor and you stay with your families or the group that you show up with, and everybody just kind of gives themselves some distance. People were wearing masks, some weren't, some were out in the back of the field. So you just need to be outside, and you could be safe doing this. And we played 5 events already. And like I've said, there's been 0 cases reported back. And between the 5 events, I said there was 10,000 people between those 5 events. And it just proves that if you can play outside with the UV rays hitting and everybody being cautious, and you checking people's temperatures as they enter the facility, boop, 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 you're good, boop, you're good. Someone's got a fever. Hey, we can't let you in. You got to go. Sorry, we'll refund your ticket. We found a way to do it. And I promise you, we will be the first band back on the road playing live events again. We'll be the first ones. We'll be at the forefront of that as well. And also, we were the first bands doing live streams. We put on 20 live streams before bands even did 1 live stream. So that was a whole nother way we generated income. We were doing donate any amount that you want. And we were doing free streaming events, donations of any amount. And that in itself generated enough money for the band to not only survive, but thrive.
And so with all of the concerts getting rescheduled, and I am watching the time for us, Rick, because I do know that you have another engagement. So with everything getting rescheduled in the event of the COVID world, if you guys have been able to put on shows successfully outside with social distancing, with masks, et cetera, with 0 COVID exposures, what's not allowing the concerts to come back? Is it because of the simple fact that the venues are saying no, or is it mandates on the state level? What is actually hindering you? If you can say, hey, I can prove we can do this, what's the hindrance to do it right now?
State mandates, the amount of fear that they're pushing out to concert goers. I think without getting, I don't want to get political because I'm not too political. I don't spend my life obsessing over any side of politics. I spend my life looking at the realities of Earth and the realities of my community and the people that are affected regularly. And when I see just these numbers, 94% of people that have died have pre-existing conditions. When I see that only 1,000 people in Nevada have died in 8 months. When I see that there's been, there's been 200,000 cases, but the death rate over an 8-month span or 7-month span is fairly, I don't want anyone to die ever, but is it enough to justify what's going on in our industry? I know that Live Nation, CIA, venues all across the nation, they have laid off their entire staff. So there's hundreds of thousands of people that do not have jobs in the entertainment industry right now. And it's a problem to me. It's a problem to me, not for myself. Look, financially, I'm very stable from other investments. I have a very diverse portfolio. I own the masters to 3 Adelitas Way albums. I wake up every day thinking of solutions, not problems. So when I think about getting back at it, it's state mandates. It's the fear that they're putting in concert goers for people not willing to risk going out at this moment. But I'm very confident that during an outdoor setting, outdoor stage, if I were to put a 15-date tour together, and I were to be the one who was leading the way, I guarantee I could put 15 successful shows together where there's very, very limited, the same amount of people would get COVID that were gonna get the flu or the cold or whatever other illness we've already dealt with for hundreds of years, right? I'm confident that I could put on an event that falls right in the spectrum of that reality, and also everyone have a great time, be entertained, and also bring back live music. It's the state mandates, and it's the level of fear that is being pushed into society through the media. I think at this point we know, I know from a personal standpoint who owns the media, because I have to deal with a lot of these people saying no to me constantly, right? Clear Channel, Cumulus, and then it goes to the news stations. Like, I know the owners of all these organizations, and I can tell you their goal is to keep concerts on ice until 2021 or later.
That's so depressing, because I've already had 3 postponed and rescheduled, and I've actually gotten the ability to see you a couple times when you've come through Vamps, which is, for those of you who don't know Vegas, it is our premier, it's like our fucking haven for rock and roll, and it used to be my biggest haunt pre-COVID and all that stuff. So, oh God, it's so great.
It's those
so
places.
Rick,
Look, I will say, indoor venues it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough because it is a very contagious disease, bottom line. But also science has proven that it cannot live outside. So I think the key to the story here is concerts are gonna probably have to move outdoors for them to be successful currently, until they get a vaccine and a cure. Until someone can just say, I don't feel so well. They wake up in the morning, until someone can say, I don't feel so well, they wake up in the morning, they go right to Walgreens, or they go right to the doctor and immediately get taken care of. I don't think people are going to go back in indoor concerts for quite some time. But I do think that outdoor events can thrive. So I think my advice to any place that is vamped, build a parking lot stage, utilize that parking, build an outdoor event, make sure you got the curfews, and get that done. Just want to thank you for having me, and I want to thank the fans for making all this possible. It's all about the fans, always. First thing in mind when you're making music, when you're promoting music, you've got to have fans. If you have fans, anything's possible.
I cannot thank you enough for the fact that you have been so free and willing with your information. Obviously, you're very fan-centric as a band, which is fantastic. And the fact that you've maybe hopefully given some of the up-and-coming musicians that listen to this podcast kind of a rough blueprint of how they can get through and get to your level, get to Adelitas Ways level without having to go through the BS of dealing with the record companies. And can't thank you enough for being on the show, really.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys. And for any band that is listening to this, the future of the music business is brighter than ever. So believe in yourself, work hard, and it's all about the music.
Fantastic.
That was awesome. Yeah, there were some serious nuggets on this particular show.
Yeah, for sure.
Great insights. Great insights.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Absolutely.
See you guys.
Okay, well, I hope you have fun.
We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode. We're going to catch you next time. You guys got to say bye.
Oh.
You guys got to say bye.
Oh. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. We'll see you.
Stop recording now.
Thanks for listening. If you like us, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.